It's me, Mordenkainen. I'm still in space. I'm still riding a horse. And I'm still holding the basketball. Aren't I awesome? Look at me. I'm Mordenkainen. Hey, what's up? It's me, the OG GM, and not Mordenkainen. I know there is some confusion, but I assure you, I would not be stupid enough to ride through space on the back of a horse. Anyways, we have a complete compilation of the race changes from Monsters of the Multiverse. These are leaks, but they have been at least 90% confirmed to be accurate. Of course, there could still be some inaccuracies between these leaks and the actual product. Wizards has been known to lie to us before, Ravenloft being a perfect example. And these are coming from a guy who came to talk to a guy who saw a thing that another, So I'm going to say 90% these are correct, and 10% it's just whistling in the wind. I'm not going to go through every single race that has been changed and what those changes are, because there's 260 of them, and we know how I get with some of these words. So we're just going to go over what the general overall changes and edits seem to be, and what, if anything, it means going forward. Caveat, let us remember that there is a certain theory floating around that even though Wizards of the Coast is making all these changes to be more compliant with the current political environment, they're then going to go and actually release the stuff in a separate product on the DM's Guild, which is not compliant with the current political thing. So there's a theory floating around that all the stuff that's been cut out of Mordenkainen's, like the lore, we'll see on a separate product on DM's Guild that you have to pay through again. And the evidence to this is, of course, Witchlight, and then the Domains of Delight supplement they put out on DM's Guild that include a lot of the stuff that they supposedly edited out of Witchlight. Now, we haven't seen anything for Strixhaven yet doing the same thing, but that theory's out there. And I want to see kind of if it plays. So we'll see if that's what happens with Mordenkainen's. If they release Mordenkainen's and then a couple of days later release a PDF on DM's Guild with all the cutout lore and changes and stuff. Anyways, universal changes. The subrace mechanic does not exist in Monsters of the Multiverse. Previous subraces are now either in their own block or have been combined into a single race with customizable traits, meaning you still have the same options you had before. Most subraces that have their own blocks are still considered their parent race for certain effects. So even though there was just a book that came out with all the Dragonborn stuff in Fizzbins, you're now considered a customizable single race with customizable traits. So you're basically a Lego now, subraces, and you can pick and choose which traits you want out of a pool of, I don't know how many choices you get, let's say 3. So your Lego subrace elf, and you could choose, I want that trait, and that trait, and now I'm a Sword of Drow, but with a +2 strength. Yeah, because now you can pick and choose what traits you want. All subraces have combined into one single race. Yeah, diversity. How do we make diversity in our game? By making everything exactly the same, and then just allowing you to add and drop what you want. Yeah, that sounds a lot like another game. Sounds very generic. Languages. Most languages are no longer determined. No languages are no longer determined by your race. And instead, you learn 2 languages of your choice. 2 languages of your choice. God, my brain is not working today. Plus whatever you gain from backgrounds or whatever. This does mean that races who would have gained an extra language no longer do so. So you get 2 languages no matter what you are. Those 2 languages do not have to be common or your racial language, which means you could be a dwarf who doesn't speak Dwarven because you weren't raised in a Dwarven community, I guess. You were raised someplace else, and therefore it wouldn't logically make sense that you speak the language of your race. Which I guess kind of makes sense, but not really. Yeah. All right, here's the one that's going to piss a lot of people off. All creatures with a walking speed of 25 feet now have a speed of 30 feet. Hey! In addition, any special speeds, like swimming, flying, climbing, whatever, are now equal to your walking speed. So all you flying races, you fly as fast as you walk. And all those swimming races who used to get an advantage over us normal people who didn't have super swimming, well, you now swim at all the exact same speed. Everybody swims at 30 per turn, 30 feet per turn. Everybody climbs walls at 30 feet per turn. Everybody flies at 30 feet per turn. There's no advantage or disadvantage to being a sea elf or a flying squirrel because, again, racial traits are choosable. So, yeah, I could be a squirrel who can breathe underwater. I could be an elf who decides I can breathe or cannot breathe underwater, but doesn't really take an advantage because even if I am a water-breathing elf, I don't swim any faster than Joe the fighter in his armor. Size! All races now have the option of being medium or small, except for some of the monster races. Obviously, you're not going to have a medium titan or an ancient spell using red dragon, but pretty much all the humanoid races can be as tall as you want or as short as you want within, I guess, 8 feet to 1 foot. So if you want to be a 7 foot tall halfling, you can. Innate spell casting. Any trait that lets you cast a spell and now allows you to cast a spell using any spell slots you have. You also get to decide which of your stats as your spell spoken focus for these spells when selecting your race. So intelligence, wisdom, or charisma. Okay, so if you are a race that has an innate spell casting ability like Drow or gnomes, you now cast it as if it was a spell slot instead of a freebie, is what I'm reading. Any trait that lets you cast a spell now allows you to cast that spell using any spell slots you have. What if you don't have any spell slots? What if I'm a drow or a gnome or an elf who has used to have the ability to cast one, spell, and now it's reading as if I can only cast that spell if I have a spell slot, but if I'm a drow fighter, I don't get my free spell anymore because fighters don't have spell slots unless I take a, subclass that lets me do. Also, you can decide whether your intelligence, wisdom, or charisma is your spell casting focus for these spells when selecting your race. Yeah. Remember when, your charisma had to be your spell casting focus if you were a sorcerer or a warlock? Or your wisdom was for your clerics? Nope, not anymore. If your strength is higher than your wisdom, you can make your strength bonus be your spellcasting bonus now, I guess. Oh no, I suppose you can only choose from those 3. Still, sooner or later somebody's going to say, no, I want to be able to choose from whatever stat I want because I want to be able to cast spells, but my strength is 18 and my intelligence and wisdom are only 9. But I still want to be able to cast spells, so my strength is my spellcasting focus. Otherwise, you're not being fair. So, yeah. Short rest traits. All the traits that refreshed on short rest have been changed. They can now be used a number of times equal to your proficiency bonus per long rest. I kind of like that one. Now, initially, it means you can't use them as much because your proficiency bonus at first level is 2. So if you have a trait that refreshed at short rest, that used to give you I can use this 3 times per short rest or 7 times or, whatever. Nope. It's now limited to your proficiency, but that's going to go up a lot slower, but it's still going to increase. And you only get them recharged on a long rest. So abilities that recharged on a short rest, now you have to wait to take that 8-hour nap before you get them back. So no more cheesing the system by using your special ability, then going, hey, can we take a 10-minute break? Then, I've got my short rest special ability bag. Let's go do that again. Long rest. That one I like. Natural weapons that dealt 1d4 plus strength damage now deal 1d6 plus strength damage. Also mentioned, the terms natural weapons is no longer used in these traits. Instead, the wording is you can use to make an unarmed strike. When you hit with them, that strike deals damage instead of the normal bludgeoning damage of an unarmed strike. So you can use your teeth to make an unarmed strike. When you hit with them, that strike deals a d6 plus strength damage instead of the normal bludgeoning damage for an unarmed strike. But since now the unarmed strike normal damage is a d6 plus strength, what is the difference between that and the normal bludgeoning damage? Because the normal bludgeoning damage is d6 plus strength. Which means, monks, you're screwed, because at first level a monk, your damage is what? No, I'm sorry, that's right. It's d6 plus strength. So monks, you're not special anymore. Because, yeah, I know you do a d6, but so does everybody else punching. So what can you do that I can't do? Oh, your punching goes up. Yeah, mine doesn't. I'm sure it will. Condition resistance. Traits that give you advantage against certain conditions now specify they give you advantage on avoiding or ending the condition on yourself. So is that as well as or instead of? Traits that give you advantage against certain conditions now specify that they give you advantage on avoiding or ending the condition on yourself. Instead of? Because before it was, I get advantage on saving throws against fire. But now is it, I get an advantage against the saving throw to end the condition, but I don't get the advantage to jump out of the way? Or is it now I get the advantage to jump out of the way and I get the advantage of avoiding or ending the condition on myself as well? Because remember, being held from a hold person spell is not fair. Magical resistance. Traits that give you advantage in saving throws against spells and other magical effects now only apply to spells and not other magical effects. So I guess like gaze attacks or whatever. I don't know. Level 4 healing damage. Traits that used your level in a formula for damage or healing no longer do so, instead using some other PB-based value. Player book based value. Do we know what that value is? Or are we just going to say it's based upon the race? It doesn't say. Animal monster communication. As mentioned, traits like Friend of the Sea that allow you to communicate with animals, other things, now specify creature types that you can communicate with. So, yeah, I guess if you're innately able to talk to fish, well, now we have to list each specific fish you can and cannot talk to, because we don't want somebody to go, oh, that's not fair. What do you mean I can't talk to a dolphin? This says I can talk to any fish. Dolphins aren't fish. Non-player handbook spells. As observed, races and abilities that cast spells that are not from the player's handbook have these spells replaced by ones that are in the player's handbook. I kind of like that one. So like Water Genasi, who used to get a free spell that was not a player's handbook spell, lost it and has been replaced from something in the player's handbook. Fey Ancestry. The magical sleep immunity of the trait has been moved to trance trait, similar to that what elves have. Goblinoids are now fairies. So goblins, hobgoblins, and bugbears all now have the Fey Ancestry trance, and apparently are now all fairies. Trance has been changed. The trait now grants immunity to magical slumber. It is now more clearly specified that you are conscious while taking a long rest. When you now finish a long rest, this trait allows you to gain 2 proficiencies that you don't have. Each must be in a weapon or tool of your choice that is in the player's handbook. These proficiencies last until you take a long rest. These apply to every elf, and I guess now goblins, in the book. So wait a minute. Wait, what? Wait, hold on. What? I'm proficient in blacksmith and engineering. I take a nap, I suddenly forget that. But I can take 2 different proficiencies, like wall climbing and, I don't know, stealth that I didn't have before. And then I take a nap and those go away. and then I get a new one? When you now finish long rest, this trait allows you to gain 2 proficiencies that you don't have. Each must be a weapon or tool of your choice that is in the player's handbook. These proficiencies last until you take the long rest. My class doesn't let me be proficient in longswords. I'm going to take a nap. Now I'm proficient in longswords. I get to be proficient in longswords until I take another nap. I take a nap. Oh, I've forgotten how to use longswords. I choose longsword again. Now I'm a wizard, and I can have this +5 longsword, as long as I take a nap and remember how to use it when I wake up. That's stupid! And then we have the races. Now let's see if we can find any of these changes actually in print. Just looks like some stuff has been renamed. Yep. So here's one. Here's one that has a gained and innate spellcasting trait, which gets a spell once per long rest. But what if I don't have a spell slot? Can I still use this innate spell? Okay, Dwarven Resistance now specifies that it gives advantage on avoiding or ending this poison condition, but does it still give me the advantage on my saving throw versus poison? Or is it now specifically, I don't get an advantage on my saving throw, but I get an advantage on avoiding or ending the poison condition? So you can still be poisoned, but when there is the second, all right, roll to see if you're still under the effect of the poison, you get advantage on that to end the poison condition, or advantage on avoiding. Oh, so I guess advantage on avoiding is the original saving throw. I get advantage on avoiding being poisoned. But if I am poisoned, I get advantage on ending the poison condition. So I get 2 saving throws instead of 1. And if I fail the first, at the beginning of the next turn, when the poison can continue, I can make another saving throw and get advantage on that. If it's written into the poison that you can make a second saving throw. What if it's not? What if it's a poison that doesn't say that? Can I automatically jump in front of the line and say, nope, my Dwarven Resistance now says I get an advantage on a saving throw for ending the poison condition. So even though the poison doesn't say that it has a saving throw you have to make every round, I'm now saying I have to make a saving throw, and I get advantage on the save. Okay, this literally makes no fucking sense. It hurts my brain. The wording is not better, guys. It's worse. You've made things that were less complicated now more complicated. And this new saving throw roll is a perfect example. And this new innate spellcasting is a perfect example. Innate spellcasting. Well, what if I don't have any spell slots? What if I'm playing a class that doesn't get spell slots? I'm a fighter. And I've taken, Battle Master. No spell slots. Does that mean I cannot use my innate spellcasting? Or does the fact that I have an innate spellcasting ability, such as, a gnome or an elf with the ability to cast one spell, mean that counts as my 1 slot per long rest? I innately have a spell, and that innately gives me 1 spell slot, or I can't cast the spell unless I have a class that gives me spell slots. And what about, I have advantage to resist, to not be affected by poison. And I have advantage to end the condition of being poisoned. But what if it's a poison that doesn't have that written into it? Can I still get that save? Or now I don't. I don't understand. Oh, and now everybody can just punch for a D6 plus strength? Sorry, monks, you're screwed. These make no sense. These literally make no sense. Oh yeah, sunlight sensitivity is gone. Oh, and of course my favorite, take a nap, learn 2 new skills, take a nap, forget those skills, but choose 2 new ones. Or you can choose the same 2. I'm going to just take a nap, run a wizard who, with the trance ability, take a nap, I'm proficient with longsword. Take a nap, I'm proficient with longsword. Take a nap, I'm proficient with longsword. You can be proficient with longsword. You're a wizard. I took a nap, I'm proficient. I don't know how it works, but hey, I can do it. I got a tool skill I didn't have before. And I get it until I take my next nap. How does that make sense? I don't know. It doesn't matter. That's about it. Then, of course, we have all the races. Some of them have stuff unique to them, but a lot of the stuff are just, things that are the exact same thing, but just with a different name. So, like an earth creature's special ability might be earth magic. But really, when you read the description, this is exactly the same as dwarf magic, which is every race is basically a gray glob. You can pick and choose which racial traits you want. You can pick and choose what languages you want. You can pick and choose your size. It runs at the exact same speed now, 30 feet. Everybody punches for a D6 plus strength. Yeah. How are we going to make you more diverse? By making you all exactly the same, and then letting you pick and choose what abilities you want. Wouldn't that be nice if we could do that in real life, if we're just all the same and could just pick and choose what languages I speak and what abilities I have, but if I don't like them, I can take a nap and pick 2 new abilities? This is dumb! This is as dumb as a man on a horse in space holding a basketball. Alright, yeah, that's it. I'm not going to read all the races, but just based upon what we just read, I think you get a general idea that this is just make something that was simple far more complicated in an attempt to make it more simple, and make something that was diversified less diversified in an attempt to make it more diversified. Because remember, when everyone's special, no one is.